Tim story. Our lead story this week is about after show. It is the after show. Hey, but I did want to hit on because
people
I mean, I
travel.
think that's actually, those are two common buckets, though. Those are two pretty strong travel themes.
Mhm.
There's the trip for slowing down and recuperating, and then there's the trip that's about see things you'll never potentially get to see again.
Yeah.
So, Robert, for some reason, when I opened up the article, the list is not there, just the skipped recap. I opened it this morning when I read it and it was fine, but now I'm looking at it and I don't see the list to it. Can you
Wait,
read through the top 20 that they read through real quick so that we have a list?
For the booking.com, really?
Yeah.
It should be globalnews.booking.com is the link, I think. That's weird.
No, it wasn't. You gave us the skipped link.
Are you sure? On live show 219, booking.com predicts the top travel trends?
Yeah, it's weird.
Boy,
yeah, mine changed too. That's strange.
Mine did not open up. Yeah. Mine changed.
Huh. Okay. Let's see.
If you could throw that, because I went over and I opened it up this morning and it was fine.
Okay, I've got it. Yeah, I've got it. And it clicks here. I'm not looking in the email. I'm looking at the link that I copied out of the email. Okay, yeah. So anyway,
booking.com. Throw it up in the chat box so people can have it. But yeah, it was weird. It was like, what's in the article?
Huh. Hang on. Let me do it's hard to walk and chew gum at the same time.
So the rise of the second city traveler. So that was their first insight, and it's the theme of it is people being sensitive to over tourism are going to start setting out to explore cities that normally they wouldn't go after as a primary target.
Oh, hang on, Lauren. You posted a different booking.com link from down in the intermediaries as opposed to the top story. That's
there we go. Got it.
There we go. I got it. I just posted it. There we go.
Thank you. Sorry, that was my bad. Yep, you're right. I grabbed the wrong article. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. Right link in the thing. Yep. Sorry, Ed. Go ahead.
So they're saying that 60% of global travelers would be keen to have access to a service, whether it's an app or a website that recommends destinations where an increase in tourism would have a positive impact on their local community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that joins one of the ones that are done on the list where the people are going to rely more on technology because a lot of people don't know how to discover those places. And so they're going to rely heavier on technology to help them with the
travel agents. Let's not kid ourselves.
Oh, yeah. With travel agents as well, right.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's travel agents do.
That's like
good travel agents
really
do a great job of that.
Yeah.
Bad travel agents are actually worse than an OTA. There's a whole spectrum there, right? But but the good ones can provide really, really great, great experiences. They're probably much better than you can do on your own.
Probably. Their second point with a very cheesy name is TechSpect, the unexpected, where they're saying more travelers will put their key decision-making process even more firmly in the hands of technology because it's overwhelming deciding which corners of the incredible planet to visit. This feels like a point that they really shoehorned into here because it was important.
Right.
Their overarching
exactly. Let's not make it number one. Yeah, don't make it number one. Let's make it number two.
Yeah. And let's hope some travelers read it and agree and start booking with us because of it. And then number 3, slow-mo's the new FOMO. So that's the first thing you talked about, which is, unplugging, relaxing, packing less into a trip. And then, number 4 was the opposite, the all amusive escape.
Yeah. Well, part of slow-mo was also, not necessarily flying over something, but kind of seeing where you're passing through and having a lower carbon footprint, right? Where you're being more of an environmentally conscious sort of thing.
And yet the photo that they used for that was a train. So just saying.
Well, trains are pretty. Well, I don't know about the environmental impact of putting tracks into a mountain.
Right.
there is.
I guess they're looking at that as sunk costs.
Sunk costs, yes, exactly. And then, but
so speed of getting there to your point.
And then all amusive is, packing it in, having that, going to destinations that offer an array of different experiences. So, opposite of number 3, pet friendly, number 5.
That's huge.
That's huge. I would definitely put my hand on that.
Restaurant industry as well.
And that in building year in, year out, making memories with grand getaways. They're saying this is going to be a year that grandparents leave their kids at home but take the grandkids on great trips. So I guess the millennials are being left out in this run. Now it's just their children.
That's right, exactly.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a new concept. I don't even think it's a growing concept. I think it's a persistent. I mean, eventually, like we said, it's the year of mobile. Eventually, it would have been the year of mobile. I think that's the same thing with that statement. Grandparents taking kids away. It's been there. It's been persistently there. I think they keep trying to highlight that there's a growth to it, but it's just an age cycle. It's not really like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden this is the year that it blows up from what it had been before. I think it's just a perpetual thing that's there.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean the trends are saying almost 3/4 agree that spending time with their grandkids helps keep them feeling young. Yeah, I think grandparents like to spend time with their grandchildren, sort of thing, and believe that parents need time alone. It's like, yeah, those are both things, but you also have generational. But you also have generational.
Yeah, I think the only distinction I would give to this is that we know that millennials have less income or less money in their pocket at the same age that the baby boomers had at their age. So perhaps this is a fragmentation of saying the grandparents can't flip the bill for the entire family to go do something, so they're going to just take the grandkids this year. I don't know. It might be that. So
yeah. Well, and if the grandkids are young, I mean, what happens a lot is if the parents have to work and things like that, then that's fine, and they can go take them in off-season type things, places where things are less expensive. Especially if they're preschool, before school age, right? They can do a lot of different things like that. There's more flexibility. So
yeah. Mr.
Ed? Number 8, fast track to long-term travel as retirement looks set to become less and less.
You skipped 7.
Age. Oh, I did.
7.
Sorry,
Race
7.
to the reservation.
Oh, yes. Another
plug.
Booking.com pushed in because of their ownership of OpenTable.
OpenTable? Oh, what a coincidence.
Yeah.
Really? That just dawned on me.
That is one of the ones I was going to slightly disagree with as well as kind of always been there, not necessarily important.
Here's our top 8, 2 of which are directly
from us.
Self-serve.
Well, I do have to say, though, my daughter and her husband are coming up for Thanksgiving, right? And we always go and eat at this one restaurant. And a lot of times, you wind up getting a really late time or whatever the case may be. I booked, actually it wasn't, these guys changed from OpenTable to Yelp, and I wound up booking it on Yelp in early October for a late November. I mean, I've never booked anything that early before for a restaurant reservation, but I think you're going to see more stuff. Yeah, you're going to see that happen more.
Yeah. Mr. Ed?
All right. Number 8, fast track to long-term travel as retirement looks to become less and less about reaching a certain age and leaving the workforce. And with increasing numbers actively planning to retire earlier, we'll see this moment become surprisingly synonymous with adventure travel planning. Nearly one quarter. Sorry.
I know we don't have much time before we run out of LinkedIn time, but I do want to go over and point out one thing to this. It seems kind of productive that if the very age category that says they want to retire earlier has less monies at the same age that baby boomers have, and baby boomers are struggling with the fact that longevity is increasing, so they're running out of money by the time they hit 85, how is it that the millennials optimistically feel that they will be able to retire sooner rather than later and still enjoy a lifestyle that they would want to enjoy at that age?
I mean, it fits the stereotype of millennials.
Right.
I mean, it seems kind of counterproductive. It's like
entitlement attached to things that you don't have.
Instant gratification, all those things. Yeah.
Right.
Don't worry, someone will take care of us. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a hard struggle for Social Security to even be alive by the time I need it. So I don't know whether or not millennials are going to be walking into anything that has a safety net.
Robert, enjoy your Social Security. You're probably the last of us to get it.
Actually, it's very interesting. I'm in the transition group of Social Security where they're moving up the retirement, the age for it, right? Which is interesting, and and Medicare and things like that as well. And it's just kind of, you just see that going, there was a problem, so they said, hey, the retirement age has to get, or whatever the eligibility.
We're in real trouble.
Older, which is really, really interesting because at some point they're going to start pushing it where it's going to be like, hey, wait a second, folks, that's too late.
Well, that's already happening in Europe. Europe is already very upset that that they have to. You have to work until 67. You have to work until 67. That's meant. You don't really get anything until you hit 67. Right. And at least in the States, there's some progression to that. But
they're moving the age up, and then they're also strangely backing, big tobacco advertising to target those 40+ non-smokers to get them smoking again.
Spin the herd a little bit, so to speak.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, what's the next one? Meanwhile, back to travel.
That was it. That was the 8 insights, the 8 clever insights of Booking.com's travel trends for 2020.
I would like to step back to the pet friendly one real quick, because it is, I think, probably the strongest point out of the ones in my mind that they made. That pet travel is a real thing. It is a real segment to chase and pursue, but how we as an industry are doing it is dysfunctional. Because, saying that you're pet friendly but charging $100 non-refundable fee per night.
I think you're seeing that less and less, though, Lauren. I mean, you've been saying that every time we brought up pet friendly over the time we've been doing these shows. You do make that point, and I do agree with the point. But I've seen way more hotels understanding that truly being pet friendly and creating the opportunity for pet owners, pet parents, what do they want to be called?
Owners, parents, whatever, yeah.
To give them more opportunity to not only have their pet with them, but to have experiences with their pet.
Right. I agree. I do agree with you. I believe the trend is in the right direction.
Yep.
But there are still, it's frustrating from our side of things where when we go to travel and it's the pet-friendly hotels, which are not still as numerous as I would like them to be, nor brand-wise even as numerous.
Maybe you're looking at the wrong hotels, Lauren.
There is possibilities of that as well. And it is true, yes. But in some markets, they have certain control over whether they want to be as well. And then what fees they want to charge. And then there's some that, there's some great hotels that, they charge one flat fee for however long you're going to stay there, up to a max of a number of days before they recharge it again, that are very welcoming. It's like, that's great. They have little pet things and stuff. And those are fun hotels. I mean, you go in there and it's like a puppy factory. It's like dogs and cats everywhere. It's great.
Dogs and cats living together.
Dogs and cats living together. Chaos pandemonium. Thank you for quoting Ghostbusters.
But it's interesting though. If you just do a quick search in Google of best pet hotels or something, guess what comes up at the top? Hotels. There is a local ad for a local place, but then Hotels.com, TripAdvisor, Expedia, all of them have their little top 10 lists of your local area, right? Yeah, so they've done that very well. But then you go into kind of the blogs, right, where they're a little bit more of a focus on that. I think a lot of pet owners, if they start doing that, they'll try to start looking at more reputable, third party.
There's no real clear leader yet.
If they're reputable, they won't be able to tell, right? So,
there's still no real TripAdvisor of the world, so to speak, of pet travel aggregation of information. I mean, there's with Fido and stuff like this that are out there that have some good content. But if you're traveling with your pet, it does require additional levels of research that they just aren't as free-forming on natural discovery that you normally find. You can find a lot more general information when you're traveling without the need for it than it is when you do have the need for it. And I think to some degree, special needs travelers have the same issues and concerns that they have to have additional layers of research necessary. We don't make it as prevalently easy for them to discover what services are available for what they may need for travel.
Right.
So I think those are two similarities.
I think the reason I put this as a top story, I think these are all excellent areas if a hotel has a website to not necessarily go into incredible detail and build out, incredible depth, but these are, kind of points to bring out for, hey, there are different types of travelers. You're either different things to do in the city or different things, and it's not just here's a list of stuff, right? How do you do? You say, hey, if you are doing something for pets, we'll have an area where that you can be found and people can find out everything they need to know, or where they can go to get more information and just go, yeah, this is great. Reassure them that they're making a good choice and you're attentive to what their objective is of their trip, and you're going to try to help them with it.
Right.
What a revolutionary concept.
Right. We're at that point where we're going to lose the LinkedIn audience for this. So if you want to get a conversation with us, you can join us at bit.ly/HDM show 219. If you want to join us with live, if not, you can jump over to Facebook or YouTube. We're continuing the conversation. And if you want to find more about Mr. Robert Cole or Mr. Edward St. John, Edward St. John is at flip2.com, FLIP.TO. And Mr. Robert Cole is at rockcheetah.com. And I'm not going to spell rockcheetah because I had time with Flip. All right. With that, gentlemen, since Mr. Ed was so gracious to join early, what is your next favorite topic?
I had a couple that I liked. One was TripAdvisor ponders the platform's future direction and monetization. So that was a good one. The Airbnb contrarian one, I just have a funny quip about, so we can talk about that, and I'll give you my funny quip. And then let's see here, the Accor and Expedia one, I actually thought was a pretty good story. Had some good things to talk about. So those were my favorites. So let's do. What do you want? Funny quip or good conversation?
Oh, funny quip, please.
Funny quip. I'll take funny quip for $200, Bob.
So funny. So Skift publishes this article that is got a very clickbait title, which is, did Airbnb's contrarian narrative just get messed up? And the premise of this is, Airbnb has long said that they're different from Booking Holdings and Expedia, and Google and Uber, because they are profitable and they don't have to spend every dime on marketing. And then they go into, covering the first quarter financial results.
Which is the worst quarter of the year. Yeah.
Right. So, covering that Airbnb doubled its losses to $306 million in the seasonally slow first quarter, and their marketing spend rose 58% to $367 million. So their whole point here is, you guys are more like Expedia than you said you were. And then, you're reading this article and it's like, wow, I guess they are. And then you read update. A source familiar with Airbnb's finances said the company has more than $3 billion in cash on hand, has access to $1 billion credit line, and has been earnings positive since its early days.
And it has, yeah. They've run a very sound company.
Right. So it's like, here's a great story. Everything is different. They're not what they said they were. Oh, wait, they're actually what they said they were. Forget, that we said everything that you just read.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think the other point
that is the most skiftiest Skift article I have read in a long time.
Yeah. Well, and the one other thing to add, excuse me, is, as you start getting all these vacation rentals, intermixed with all the hotel, this is going to get a lot more complicated. There is going to be a lot more promotion and advertising, and who wins? Probably Google.
Right. Well, and let's think this through. So we know they're heading for an IPO next year. Mm-hmm. So what are companies heading to IPO?
Actually, not an IPO, a direct listing. They aren't.
Oh, sorry, direct listing. Listing. So they're going direct listing in the next year. And what do companies usually want to do leading up to becoming public? Oh, I know. Show that they can grow at accelerated rates with investment. So
WeWork didn't do that.
Well, good companies would do that. Companies that actually have a legitimate core business. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, this is the thing. Airbnb's contrarian approach is they're running a sound business.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. They have made, probably in terms of looking at startups in this area for everybody else, they have taken direction and kind of adult supervision very, very seriously. I mean, you remember early on they had a couple of things where, trashed apartments and things like that. And they didn't quite, it was kind of almost like what Zuckerberg's doing, right? With a lot of these privacy things, just really like, I don't think you want to handle like that. Either the visuals on this are bad or what you said was off. They had a few little stumbles, but then all of a sudden they kind of got their act together, and they did. And I think a lot of people criticize.
Speaking of people who've gotten their acts together, Stuart
Butler.
Who
love Airbnb and feel that there will only be Airbnb in the future with no other form of lodging. Here comes Stuart. So. Yeah. But it's taking a little while to get on. But there we go.
Are you at a standing desk?
Yeah, I always have a standing desk, but I'm just actually standing today.
Oh,
wow!
My back was giving me some
as a standing desk.
It's all that Palm Beach rich cuisine that you had.
Yeah. I ate really good in Palm Beach, but not like bad.
Your gout was acting up after Palm Beach.
I have zero gout, but no
gout about it.
99% of the time I stand up to work. The only times I sit down really are, I guess, when I'm hungover, which doesn't happen too much anymore.
Or when he's firing somebody, that's a real tell when they enter his office.
Yeah, if I'm meeting with people, I tend to sit down, but that's it.
There's only one true way to avoid being hungover. Don't stop drinking.
This is true.
Spoken like a true hospitality veteran.
That's right.
Hey, I have a point of contention with your notes for the email that you sent, Robert, for the show.
About the blog.
I agree with everything. I agree with everything you said about the blob, other than the fact there's no stomachs on this show. Because if you look around the room, that I'd say there's a few of us have more than our share of stomachs.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to claim 719 of the genders. I'm sorry.
Don't label me. I'm good.
Exactly.
I got the privilege of seeing Stuart in person just a few weeks ago.
I got a big man hug from Lauren.
I missed out. I wanted to be there but couldn't do it.
Yeah,
so.
There's very few people in this world make me feel like cozy when they hug me because I'm a big strapping lad, and Lauren is just a giant compared to me. So
big squeeze hug. It was good to see him. Actually, we had fun. We were at the HS. For those who know, HSMI Curate is HSMI's. I don't know if they call it their pinnacle, but it's their corporate engagement program, and that was at the Breakers in Palm Beach County. And then, Stuart, you were attending your own version of the
Marketing Advisory Board.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, HSMAI on their marketing that if they're going to post social images of their events that they want people to come to, try to catch pictures where there's a lot of people in it that look engaged and excited. They seem to have caught like the worst times where there's like half the room isn't there and the half that is there are either looking down at their phones or like dead-faced, staring off, looking away from the speaker.
So the one of me picking my nose wasn't.
I looked for
what they should. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I was very impressed overall. I'm not supposed to talk about what we talked about on the advisory council.
It's like Fight Club.
It is. It's the first rule. It's really the only rule. But no, I was super impressed with the folks there, the brain trust they have, and the direction that HSMI is going. It was, very, very good.
That's because I've left the board and you're now on it. That's probably the shift right there.
Really an upgrade, right?
Or is it just because you
version 2.0?
You're anchoring that experience in other boards that you're involved in? Potentially,
maybe so. I will plead the fifth on that one. But it was right. I mean, those folks from all the major brands were there. You know, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Hiltons, the Marriotts. It was good. And there's a lot of people came to be engaged and really genuinely. What I felt more than anything was there was a desire to help the hospitality industry from a sales and marketing perspective. So
that's good.
Yeah, I think a lot of good things will come out of it, and hopefully everyone listening will reap the rewards of that because you're all obviously in the hospitality industry. And I'm excited about the conference in January because I think there's some good ideas coming forward.
Well, are you on the conference committee?
No, I'm on the thought leadership committee. So there's four. It's broken into four committees. There's the marketing committee, the CHDM committee, the conference committee, and the thought leadership committee. And I think what we're trying to do with the thought leaders is understanding what kind of content is going to help move the industry in a positive direction. What are the challenges and opportunities coming down the pike, and then how can we as an organization, HSMAI, do a better job communicating that out? And I think over the last 5 or so years, the organization has been very one-dimensional in its communication, and I think we're talking about using video and using podcasts and using snippets of content in bite-sized pieces and things like that. So it's lots of good positive things coming out.
Well, that's a welcoming thought that you're on that committee, because that is probably one of the more driving aspects of the board. Once used to be council, was the fact that that's the part that pushes through. The certification process is kind of a maintenance committee in the sense of always keeping it improved and better. But what you're doing is really the vanguard point of saying, hey, think different, be different, present different.
Well, and Dan Waxman is now the chair of it. So,
and he did a great job, really good job. You know,
yeah,
so,
he was taking it pretty seriously, which is good.
Is. Yeah, everyone there was really committed. There was no one there that I felt like didn't want to be there. It was really good.
Excellent.
And I think anyone listening that's not involved with HSMAI, either in the local chapter or the national level, I think I would encourage you to go check it out and see what they have to offer.
In answer to Ed's concern, I brought my 360 video camera on a 10-foot pole, which always solicits great visual engagement. People going, what the, as I wave it around in the midair. So you will get a lot more when I finally post the video, because I just finished doing some video excerpts of it last night for fun while I was drinking rum and Coke. So you know it's going to be creative.
And blurry.
No, the camera was not blurry. I would maybe, but I'm putting it together now. So as it when it goes out, it's going to be kind of interesting because it's like a mini drone. Because being that high up and flying it around, it's kind of like you have a bird's eye view of whatever you want. So around the room, around outside, the venue was spectacular. I mean, the Breakers is just a spectacular property.
Nicest real estate in the state of Florida.
I'll tell you what, it not only is the property immaculate, but the staff was spot on. To the point where I didn't mind spending close to $50 on a salad and one beer at lunch, right? Because they do such a good job. They're like, okay, that's good. But they pay attention to the smallest details. If anyone's trying to figure out how to do hospitality right, I would encourage you to visit that property because
they did good.
And if you want to do that without breaking the bank, go in August. You'd be amazed at how inexpensive the Breakers is in August.
Late August,
They run deals. But they run deals at like $300 a night, includes a round of golf, includes a meal, and the room. Yeah, which is amazing for a hotel that in season is north of $1,000 a night. And
1,700. They can fly at 1,700 even on some of the other rooms. But no, when I rolled up in my motorcycle for the event, it was kind of funny because I pulled up. They're like, "Hey, I don't know where to park." And valet says, "Oh, will you bring over to the valet park?" I says, "I'm not going to let you valet the bike." He says, "No, that's where we have the motorcycle parking." The dude ran beside me as I went to the valet parking lot, so he could tell the guy to let the gate open for me to go in and park. I mean, it's like he didn't point and go, over there. He's just like, he ran beside me as I'm riding the bike.
Which is hilarious because Lauren was full on wheeling.
I was gone.
That's funny.
He's a quick runner, damn it. Those valet dudes, man, they're healthy. Anyway,
we were so on point before Stuart showed up.
I'm sorry.
We got through 3 topics in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we hit the LinkedIn mark. I hit the Instagram mark, the story mark. And speaking of which, just off the top, are you guys pushing anything on IGTV, Instagram TV? Are you guys pushing anything up there?
We haven't really dabbled yet, no.
Okay, just curious, because that's the other part. There's an hour limit on that one, but I want to push stuff up on that one as well. Rather than just the storyline stuff, I want to start pushing some content.
Well, you got to put some noise out there so that not everyone thinks the other Lauren Gray owns Instagram TV.
It's a little rough. Well, this one's coming straight up. I'm not going to be using my Instagram handle. I mean, I'll be sharing it on mine, but I'm really going to be pushing it on the hospitality Instagram platform one, which. It's that's the only way I can fight the fact that I have a doppelganger that is way cuter, way more talented, and way more popular than what I could ever possibly be. Million followers.
But she doesn't give nearly as good hugs, Lauren.
Yeah, that's true.
Lauren is using his Instagram feed mostly for like selfies, fashion tips, how-to makeup tutorials.
It's amazing what those filters do to you, too.
I was checking my email this morning at home, and I was on my phone, and I was going through, and Lauren always sends out the email with the admin login for this show. And so I was scrolling down, and my son came up behind me, and as kids inevitably do, he was snooping and seeing what I was looking at. And he was like, "You got an email from Lauren Gray?" And this 13-year-old son, I'm like, "Yeah, that's not the Lauren Gray you're thinking of."
Oh, you should leave
it.
The
answer to that is yes, of course. Yes, I do a show with Lauren.
Yeah, I know Lauren. Yeah, it's sad. So, Mr. Stewart. Well, no, actually, Robert said, we got Mr. Eddie had the chance to pick a couple.
Oh no, Ed had like three of them that he thought were.
We
interesting, which I pretty much agreed with. So.
Oh wow. So, do we want to do California protection or a core next?
How about Accor? What
Okay.
the heck?
Yeah, because the California one's going to be a little bit more of an open discussion because there is some variances to what GDPR does compared to them. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually will say that I like how this article was written. It was actually a quality article that opened with a very salient point, which is the hotel online travel agency relationship has always been a tricky one. The two are codependent and must care for each other, but not too much.
Right.
And if that was not like just a perfect lead in to this article, I don't know what else could have been.
Mm-hmm.
And then to talk about, talking about how Expedia's really have shifted to how can they help these hotel groups in the realm of technology, data, or marketing, as a way to be a better partner. Expedia is a very wise company. As someone who has paid very close attention to them throughout their whole existence, I can tell you that they change with the wind better than any company I've ever seen. And
they are heavily data driven, let me tell you.
And the persona of that company shifts very quickly, which is impressive every time they do it, because every time they do it, they are far bigger than the last time they did it.
Yeah. Well, and they've learned from their mistakes because they passed on Booking.com, right? They created Booking.com by going into Europe with a very, North American centric focus, which grossly failed, and they didn't pivot, right? So they've learned from their mistakes, and they use the data to back up their hunches sort of thing, and they test the hell out of it and then go, yeah, we got some pretty good results, let's go. And
which is really impressive because they're getting to be an old company, and they're very large. They've acquired many companies. That's incredibly difficult to do.
They basically took about 3 years off, and they didn't get the same benefit that Amazon has done with talking to the investment community, going, hey, don't worry about profits, we'll be fine. If you want that, go somewhere else. They got beat up pretty badly and spent hundreds of millions of dollars consolidating all of those platforms, which was not an easy task. But now you look at and you go, wow, they've got some pretty interesting information when people start popping in, because you'll see these things where maybe you have the dates in one application and you go, oh, wait, the dates are in there for, you put them into Travelocity, but hey, when you went to Orbitz, they're already pre-populated. How did that happen? So
it's amazing how a brand can recognize that consumers don't understand what sub-brands they own and can actually take advantage of that.
Right. Yeah, well, and they bought those sub-brands.
In our industry could benefit from that.
I feel like Expedia could do a better job of that, though, because if you go to Travelocity or Orbitz, it's the same template, right? They kind of lost what made each of the platforms unique because it was easier and more efficient.
But look at how they have structured the organization. Those two brands aren't really core brands for them. They're really affiliate brands. They're treating them the same way as they would as affiliates, which at some point, who knows if they'll want to spin them or not, right? They may decide to sell those assets if they can, have. Again,
but let me ask you this, Stuart.
Go like that.
Orbitz is a pretty easy one to identify what made them special. What made Travelocity special?
Yeah, I don't know if there was a unique value proposition other than timing there.
And for infrastructure.
No. There were several things, quite honestly. One was they were first. They beat Expedia out of the gate by about 6 months. Very low volumes. Second is they spent a fortune becoming like $50 million a shot, which at that time was a lot of money, to be the booking engine for AOL and Yahoo, right? And those deals were traffic, right? They basically acquired they had exclusives on those sorts of things, and that's what solidified their
Sure, but from a consumer perspective, they weren't doing anything.
And the rest was it was owned by It was owned and controlled by Sabre, a very air-oriented business, since I was there at that point in time, who really didn't care very much about hotels at all, which was an ignorant, flat-out ignorant approach, and all the strategies and everything that laid out, which showed them that there was a fortune laying there for hotels, they ignored, and here you have the outcome. So they have an opportunity to kill it.
Yeah, I just wonder now, like, how much organic traffic do they get to those sub-brands relatively to what they used to get before they kind of bastardized everything.
They got one thing with Travelocity. They got the Gnome. They haven't messed up the Gnome. People love the Gnome.
I hated the Gnome when it came out. I thought it was really stupid, but I think the execution and the original execution was not very good. I don't know if they changed agencies or whatever, but yeah, once they started doing the more Amazing Race type stuff and making it a little bit more humorous and that sort of thing, the execution got a lot better, and people do love the Gnomes, and it made it different, right? Expedia had kind of a suitcase. It was kind of a hard-sided suitcase, which didn't really look like
by the
luggage.
Way, you can win one of those at one of their events. They're excellent suitcases.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. But how often do you see, Orbitz or Travelocity, they're ranking in the top 5 for a competitive keyword? They don't, because they don't have such a unique value proposition that Google recognizes as.
See, and so Orbitz, I think their value proposition was their trip planning for complex travelers.
Yep.
Yeah. They were the only OTA that I never felt guilty about booking a full trip on, because their trip planning was so strong.
Yeah. Can I ask you from the Google zero-click, a better way of saying it, but have you noticed that there hasn't been a lot of OTA answers in those things? I don't know. Maybe you're seeing different questions come up that I'm seeing from those query stuff. But
so who's providing answers? Google themselves?
No, not that hotels are doing it any better. I'm not saying that, but
I'm saying Google themselves. Just
they're Googling themselves. Oh,
yeah.
A lot of destinations were sold on doing all that work for Google. So the DMOs invested a lot of money to, have all those answers and to, fill out all the business profiles and take pictures and everything. So that may have sucked up some of the opportunity that the OTAs could have had to take advantage of a low-cost path.
Yeah, because I was considering, but now the OTAs aren't showing up into the answer sections as much as is just really some interesting one-offs, ones that have for some reason have a great quantity of content about a particular topic.
I wonder if they're a fuel customer.
Could be, those fuel guys, those fueligans are pretty crazy people.
Like break rules.
Hey, I like to be dropping in
from you to us. It's your list,
right? But that would not be on my list. And I'm gonna probably borrow some ideas from all you guys that contributed. And so this the exercise was, so everyone listening right now actually understands what we're talking about, is I'm speaking at a direct booking summit that TripTease puts on next week, and it's a panel discussion, but it's a little different. We're actually building our perfect kind of marketing mix for driving direct bookings, and where would we invest money? And so there's a list of topics, and they're going to have physical bricks made. Not real. Yeah.
Styrofoam bricks? No.
Right, and he's
the other guy that's doing it. That was my my take on the list.
That list wasn't his. That was from TripTease compiled the original list.
Oh, that makes even more sense.
Yeah, it comes from another agency similar to Fuel, where they have booking engines and
the opposite. Our house of mirrors and the gauntlet you have to run through to try to book something, which seems to be the case of some hotels. I don't know. Maybe they only guess who really can endure the. Yeah,
I did find it odd that Ed poo-pooed on the.
He said it was for an independent hotel. What independent hotel suggesting that they
find one?
A quality booking engine, like maybe Fuel's booking engine, because it's
that they should search for the options once they know what their goals are and what they're trying to improve. There's no data to support that.
That was Lard saying, well, what kind of property is it? How many people?
Yeah. So anyways.
How else do you do that?
If you want an opinion, you got to be clear on what you're wanting.
You need to interview the staff and past guests. I mean,
it's thought exercise. It's
money on the referral, right? And you just refer them to that. You get your check. Pretty mind.
That's my whole wall. Is just going to be consultant. Because
it wouldn't make sense.
But honestly, I never did that because when I was, hiring people, if the answer is not no, kind of getting the massive revenue share.
Once they've
if they fly me out on the Gulf Stream, I told you that. I think I recommended that too. That there are a couple of I'm an advisor yet, which is good. So I don't have, a dog in that fight. Smart question.
What are they going to think about Robert's behavior on
value, how they have a competitive advantage, what kind of moats they build, competitive factors of who can go. It's really refreshing.
That's laughable, and you guys actually laughed when I said that it was one that I wanted to talk about because you know what I was. Someone instead of themselves. I mean, because that actually would be a good thing to do to travelers.
Wall Street push
decision they make has been short-term, looking to try to make short-term gain. But every single decision they've made has pushed their long-term success further backwards. It's idiotic, really, the direction they got. Because you're right, Ed, they do not serve a master anymore other than Wall Street. And what made them great originally was they were the best independent form of reviews. It's hotels or Google hotel ads on a literal daily basis. It's crazy.
Well, and it's interesting that Lindsay Nelson, who is the president of their core experience,
recently, where he was, on there and talking about it was trying to promote, a trip to Chile. It needs to be more focused. All right, so I just went to TripAdvisor, and the first thing they're trying to throw down my throat, right? Other than Dapper is. That's my ignorance, right? But I've never stayed in a Ritz-Carlton, nor do I have the monetary means to stay in a Ritz-Carlton you're serving to me.
Well, advisor, right? Just to see what the hell they were doing, and they're giving me, August 30th to September 2nd, and it's last time for it. It's like maybe in June. Why are you showing it to me in October? And
I actually don't know what their normal consumer experience looks like because I use TripAdvisor heavily to look at hotels.
Me too.
My hotel searches on TripAdvisor
use the site, and they're trying to, sell you stuff. And it's just crazy.
I always try to use the room block for whatever conference I'm attending.
Wow.
If no one did, it would be all these.
That I absolutely hate when speakers do this. So I was invited to speak at an event with Stuart, and I'm coming in.
We identify what you guys are talking about because I'm not a big TripAdvisor user. I'm a big TripAdvisor facilitator, but I'm not a personal TripAdvisor user as much as it sounds like you all are. I use it kind of a little bit to the purposes Ed is some research, and when there's clients relationship that I handle, I'm in making sure that they're optimized.
They are the best source of room count.
Mm-hmm. I see that.
Absolutely.
They're always dead. Yes.
Well, maybe not more, but 4 or 5 years ago.
I think it's probably the loss of those independent groups and TripAdvisor's trust, right?
Hilton may have won over a lot of consumers by having all the negative TripAdvisor reviews front and center on us.
It's a quick moment to wrap up of a time scale for those who are watching this with us.
Wait,
you said about your emails. Yeah.
Take the under. It says, what noise listening to. It's in Prometheus.
I have noticed something very in the last couple of weeks. My Rock Cheetah subscription on the site, right? To just log in for emails, for blog posts, things like that, which the blog hasn't been a while. But I think it's the HSMAI.
So that's where I'm getting this from, is they engage a little hard on our time schedule to catch this at a good time. So now they're wanting a fragmentation. Plus, I'm also using a new platform with Charlene and Jackie called Social HP, which is that team building social engagement for all their chapters. So now and I am there. Instagram, she does have Lauren Gray because I have my wife's name, and that's the Instagram that I have is Lauren A. Gray. I'm waiting for the the day where I get a big check offer.
Like, please.
A lot of money to stop being you.
Well, if that happens, can we pick your new name? Please, can we pick your new name?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm thinking Magnus as a friend.
At this point.
I wanted to add one more thing, the TripAdvisor conversation. Can I?
Sorry.
So I really think there's a jump the shark moment with TripAdvisor, and it came in two parts. When they really jumped the shark, because now they're number one by default on any destination.
Right.
Yep.
And I think if used properly, sponsored positions can be valuable to a hotel. Okay, we now know you don't care about the consumer anymore.
Right. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Unless it was, I think the only benefit that could have come out of that, where there was a possible balance between financial interest and consumer interest, is a very distinctive identification.
Gray.
Yeah.
Almost looks like it's embossed.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting actually from the hotel. Now nobody, I guess,
it's not wrong though.
At least
it's no different than Google selling search. No, it's a combination of on you plus which hotel would be the most profitable transaction for them, because you're going to be most likely to
the best fit for that customer to be satisfied. And then they also layer in the dimension of, well, wait, how much are we getting paid for this? And then that's where they'll start, sorting the, South Strip Travelodge in Vegas or something. If they're going to pay them $100 a booking, it doesn't matter, right? They're just like, no, that's not what those folks are looking for.
Right.
We just aren't going to order a different way, and there needs to be legislation. It's like just
whatever, because because alphabetically they were buried, and that's not
ended. OTA agreement, right? We're like, well, no, we have our no, you have to sign. We read it. We require that 3 of our hotel 10, and you're like, you like us to put the other 8,
and that adoption and so forth, and still the
right?
That's right. Yeah. Making sure you keep in line with all this.
Yeah.
Let me get as much as I can. I mean, data standpoint, regardless of the regulation, it's the right thing to do for the consumer.
Well, the other side of that, not that I'm necessarily a proponent of it, is the whole data lake argument. Put in and don't fall into that, having that level of capability.
Advisory board discussed heavily as both an opportunity and a threat, and something that the industry could help facilitate conversation on was regulation in general, what the regulations are, causes is. And mostly it's marketers' advantage to sell people.
It's not authority-based. It's a resource of clarifying
and having an open debate, but being objective about it, not being shocking, a roadmap to where they could actually execute the plan.
Or end up going out of business.
Compliance requirements back May of last year.
We get
what's the IRS doing?
There should be that. That's I think the most key, and having it in a source that you can identify to remove it is very hard. It's not access to those, and where is it stored? How is it stored? All the
it's only going to get more complicated because
there's no way their campaign is following the regulation the way it's
at all.
And the more advanced ones are they're the Lauren Gray. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, if you look at, right now, because I know this, you can go into your voting registration for your area, and you can get a list based on party affiliation of emails. To your point, Robert, as soon as they say no to reach out to you again, so you can append those. That was one easy way to do it. Is completely open to just, as your point. Oh, you don't like it under this name?
Every single one of them.
Educated and updated on this stuff. You cannot fly under the radar anymore.
Stuart, can you pan your camera around so we can all see your chaperone?
Stop. Well, guess
it's
what?
Risk mitigation.
Which is going to be New York's.
Watch out.
That's going to be interesting.
Well, they got rid of all their crimes. They need something for the courts to do, right? GDPR too. I really, people focus on the wrong thing. They get mad at these drive-by lawyers that are trying to get drive-by lawsuits. But at the end of the day, you should be doing this stuff. It's the right thing to do, right? You should have a website that is accessible to every single person that wants to access that website.
People without the internet.
Telephone.
Yes, you do have the compliances. Yes, you do have the logs to show that you're constantly trying to keep the most and latest and greatest engagements to the website, so forth and so on. We're fighting for because you can prove that
The bank manager would say the same thing.
Because
There
Facebook
always is.
Facebook Watch, I've ever owned in my life and put it on one burst, I might be able to get up there for a brief moment, but it is, more so with the Facebook Watch, dedicating a channel availability to it, dedicating content to it. They're really trying to push the YouTube
on Facebook Watch. Yeah.
What? You know?
Facebook Watch.
Yeah, makes me think that
because it doesn't tell time.
Watch. Yeah. Didn't take my pulse, my blood pressure.
So,
but do you trust that? Is Facebook the best venue for that? They connect a lot of people. I don't know, and they're going very, very minimize engagement, right?
The thing they have that is a slight advantage.
Yeah, painfully early adopter.
Yeah, so I bleeding edge at best. So I try, I've done the channels where, when Roku opened up channels, and I've done channels for Facebook. When they turn the same thing, they turn into this blast of
max handle about 5 shows. A Disney show on night and watching it all.
And they're going to try to capitalize on the kind of Game of Thrones event stuff, right? Where people would talk about each episode.
Are you saying that they're going to drop certain channel availabilities on their stuff?
I don't know, dude.
Yeah, it depends.
Because I would say the majority of people that use an Apple TV device will not subscribe to their Apple TV service, even though a lot of people can get it bundled for free for a year or whatever. I don't think it's going to play Apple TV.
I tried Apple real console quality games. It's all basically iPhone games.
Right. Yeah.
They're going to have to pay a lot of money, and when you look at the money that Amazon's paying for Prime and things like and the shows, I mean, and Netflix, they're billions and billions of dollars getting.
You have a CBS online account, don't you?
Of course.
Yeah, and it's because of Picard, isn't it?
Of course. Yeah. And Discovery coming out.
Right. But they found content on the streaming that is more expensive than stuff they produce for their own prime time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why people like Disney have spent so much money investing in IP. They went and bought Marvel, they went and bought Star Wars, they went and bought every Fox franchise. We're all schmucks, right? Because we're all sitting here complaining about $100 a month cable bill, so we all cut the cord. And now we're all going to be spending $200 on a bazillion different.
But it's only the stuff I want, Stuart.
Right? I know.
Well,
Disney is so smart.
The only
yeah, that's not at all what you.
Look at how the majority of Hulu, right?
Enough for broadcast shows.
Oh well, you got the Hulu Plus or whatever, the one that's like $40 where you get the local channel.
Yeah, but I don't watch local channels because I don't watch local news because I don't watch TV for news. I read my news on the internet.
Probably overspent on that, but again, it's one of those ridiculous, right? But,
I actually just went through and looked at all my subscriptions and thinned out all the ones that I haven't used. It's amazing.
What in the world were you subscribing to?
The big one was our home security. We were on an old school type of home security. It's funny because it triggers booby traps, much like you saw in the original Home Alone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. I got the whole thing.
Yep. He's got a wall and he's got snakes and alligators in his moat. So
a little moat, little.
And then he deploys the drones with the poison darts.
One of the things about all this, the CTV, the connected TV stuff, is that this is a whole new world of advertising that is out there. I mean, right now there's a platform that is affordable. I say individual hotels. This is a core first.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not trying to say you should be doing already and are looking for venues of opportunity. With that disclaimer in mind, exposure to feeder markets at prime time opportunities are a requirement. But in historic,
I literally just needed to pick something you missed, Lauren. So that's
don't just try it to try it. Have a goal. Have a strategy. Try to have a way to measure way funnier than it actually was. That's awesome.
That just gave me a vision in my head of Stuart doing a slap chop style infomercial for one of the Myrtle Beach.
Sure. Yeah, be like a bad Chinese translation movie. Yes, you kill my brother.
Vision thing, which was a small, wow, look at this works. Because it was super measurable, and then internet, right? And then rolled it out to be an email based on
hotels out there that have the capability of internalizing their own content. This is a longer tail thing, but 20-minute breaks now. No. Okay, so 22 minutes of non
because if that's a mean average, that means for everyone that comes in and doesn't look at anything on the TV, there's someone that watches double. So I think 22 minutes shouldn't be your hard and fast.
Well, and a lot of times first, if you can't answer that question, do not walk down that path.
Right, and your objective shouldn't just be we spent a lot of money on it.
It's just fun to do, right?
No.
It really was. It was literally can't even supposed to get out of it. I mean, so what's the value of doing it? I'd even throw it off, and it's like, well, no. So yeah, those days are gone. Now it's like if you keep
about Facebook, but it led down an interesting path.
Capacity, right, to hold people in the next, the next port of call resort with a whole bunch of different activities and all these things.
No internet.
Well, no, but you could. But if you
TV to see if you built content that they find interesting, they're going to go on the internet to get the answer immediately that they're.
Probably. Oh no! What I'm saying is, if you have a channel sitting there where people are coming in, enough things where you can. It's not just a 22-minute thing that repeats every 22 minutes the same every day, but that's a cost, right? That you've got to maintain.
Well, and actually, if you're going to build that content, don't just lock it in that silo. Put it on YouTube.
Oh no, absolutely.
Oh, you have to make this is multiple use value proposition for the.
Oh, but then by the time people get to your TV, they've already seen it. So should you put it on the TV?
Yes. The idea, the reason why I bring some of this up is that a couple of the other articles that you pointed up, Robert, are kind of like we've been saying this for years, and now people are saying it.
Well, because they're still, like Stuart said earlier, the industry is still challenged with PCI compliance.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
They can't
nothing says listen to Ring on Fire and have somebody sing it with a British accent.
But I'm sorry. You can, if you aren't interested in food and beverage, don't want to do it. That's great. But boy, I think if you can do it properly and have control over it, and
nothing is there, and it's real about how they should use this data and communicate with their stakeholders. The importance of their role in the general ecosystem of travel. And they instantly went to, no, we need to tell them that, we're taking credit for this. And I said, no, actually, what you should say is we played a role in this much of large buckets in the subsects of that. So this is the revenue you were present in and you played a role in. And, the resistance and
right thing to do. That's what nobody in the industry does. Certainly may have touched it. I'm going to take attribution.
Even if I have multiple products with them, each individual.
Yeah. Before we had you and after we had you, year over year, and we're flatline.
Mm-hmm.
So
it shows me the value of that $500.
The example we gave them that really woke them up was something that probably happened. And they Google search 2 days later to get back to that website. Mm-hmm. So do you want to claim 100% on it, or do
it was exchanged was set? He was the only one on the board, and he was the only one that made the point.
That's right, because you just started educated on that topic.
So. That's right. Hey, out of some conversation that came in the past couple of days, it is seeming like the conversation of Robert is so funny to hear these guys been talking about this for months as to what happened in July.
No, I've been saying
when they said this about true or not. But the part that they pointed to, which was uniquely different,
Well, that happens. Election is going to be.
This is now think about it. Usually, not minors, but major election
economic production.
Yeah, correct. So doesn't curate this past week. I know you were there, Lauren, but a lot of people talk the trend, and we don't think there's going to be a downturn unless everyone keeps saying there's going to be a downturn and people stop spending money, because there isn't a catalyst this time. So
right.
That's what we're pointing is that it's a political motivation to this, that it's uncertainty. The uncertainty principle is going to be there.
Been tons of uncertainty. The economy have done if you believed in the uncertainty.
Season fire sale capability of corporate engagement, involvement, mergers, acquisitions, and lack of legality oversight is okay because they have
and there's a lot of things that have really much room to adjust anymore. So it's all kind of borrowing from now. Let's keep things up to we'll drive. What's the catalyst, right? I don't think anything is
for
going
us. For us in hospitality, what they pointed out,
new inventory. Yeah.
Over $250 million.
It's going to be a supply and demand adjustment, right?
Right. Well, what they're saying is because of that levels, you cannot
maintaining ADRs. Okay, keeps shrinking. It's still right. Occupancy is down about 0.1% over the last 50 years, or the growth rate's negative, right, of 0.1%. So that's where you're getting into.
Well, look at
it's a public company.
17 in 2018, it was 137. Oh, now we miss. Yeah. It's now 136.63, right? So it's not that it's bad. It's just it's not growing the way it used to, right? That's the whole thing. It's plateaued.
Hey, you've got this data, right, that you collect that I think is proprietary and no one else really has. At least
everybody has it. It comes from the STR stuff. I just look at it.
Does that make
he's not affiliated. He's not.
I do monetize the data. I work with actually two firms. One is
corporate travel dictate leisure travel, or does leisure travel dictate corporate travel?
What do you mean dictate?
As in,
not look at the data that way.
You're asking is not a predictor of the.
I don't generally, because that's the vibrancy of and things like that, right?
Certainly.
It's not a cause and effect relation. You can say that there's maybe a leading indicator that if you see leisure travel tailing off, lag on consumer confidence in terms of being absorbed by business, but
right, yeah,
but replace the leisure demand. We're not with giving us this data, so I'll share elsewhere. But they said that basically when this happens, corporate is receding faster than the receding of leisure. That leisure is the trend developer to what corporate does. That if you see leisure trending, corporate isn't going to replace leisure value to replace.
Last pullback was not a standard economic pullback. It was a collapsing financial system.
Right.
So you can't use any data from that. And then the last big pullback before that was a unforeseen, act of terrorism, and and then before that it was the .com bubble. When's the last time we had a normal economic cooling period?
Right. Exactly.
Well, I can tell you when it was. It was when the economy in general. So there is no
Oxford stuff without going, don't use that.
I bet Stuart has the same problem when it comes to when clients pop up going, I just got my static whatever report from whatever platform. We went down in traffic or XYZ or calls or this or that from the same previous period. And it's like, please don't get period over period or worse than what we were in absence where you dip or plateau or down because demand cycles are different.
Well, I think it's a lot more nuanced than that, Lauren. I don't even, you can look at December versus December of the previous year, because some Easter is earlier or later.
You then need to go understand why there is a difference in number.
But it is different than why at the bar with our families, the more likely it is to be a company.
Very calm.
Everybody calm. We all need to remain calm.
All right. I feel like we're running out of gas here.
I hate the Animal House movie, just for record.
Kills by Robert Bull.
But yes, that movie screwed up the toga party. So.
Okay, no, that's all right. The movie.
Actually, the toga party started in the 50s, I believe. So yeah, it was a great tradition.
Well, mine was remember the Tom Cruise movie? Yeah. Well, I always used to do that. Oh, it's just like the movie. I'm like, gentlemen, we are. Well, I wouldn't say way over time because what is way over time when it comes to the show? But we are past our normal time on the show. But thank you. It's a happy day in paradise. But I will send you the video link, and if you want, after when we shut down, I'll tell you some of who fed this information around and stuff like that. If you want to know about you and Rakshita, where is it that they go, sir?
Rakshita, social media. Yeah.
And I think you're dedicating yourself to the purpose of the podcast.
Yeah, we our stuff beyond just doing the podcast. So we stay tuned for more to come from Fuel.
It looks good. Mm-hmm. Where is it they can find you and podcast, sir?
Yes. So we're just up in our marketing game a little bit. Wow. But if you really want to learn more about Fuel in general, the best place to do that is on this. I'll be drinking either way, whether you buy or
whether you buy your own or you run someone.
Flip.to. You can find me at Edward St. Ange. You can learn about Flip.to on the Fuel podcast. Thanks for that, Stuart.
Credo. That's what we call you on the.
Hey, you know what?
I've been, which is one less thing to walk around the cup. Wow, they're talking about this on the hyperlink forward as well. So if you're for the topics that we did cover and those that we may have not stepped on, they're there to be seen as well. So with that in mind, till 11:30.